Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm the host of the No BS Coaching Advice podcast here on Anchor.fm. If you've always wanted to start a podcast, Anchor makes it ridiculously easy to do it. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's completely free and ridiculously easy to use. I know I've used two other services. One was very expensive, like $700 a month expensive, until I realized I was getting hosed, and now it costs me much less, but it still costs me. Another service that's inexpensive, but it still costs me. Again, it's 100% free. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I do no BS coaching advice here, and it is a breeze. I can record on my laptop. I can record live off my phone. Again, very, very easy to use. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. This is the No BS Coaching Advice Podcast, episode 120. I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome back. I'd like to spend some time weekly talking with you about some element of life, the universe, and everything. And I'll just simply say that I was sitting with some friends yesterday, and we were talking about things that we were grateful for. Gratitude is often something that I know I gloss over, and I know many other people do. But I'll just say that it is a wonderful emotion that grounds me when I take the time to act on it. For many of us, we're at an interesting crossroads in life. And in that crossroads, we're staring at lots of different directions. We're frightened to take an action that'll wind up hurting us. Taking a moment to be grateful and to recognize that we get what we want most of the time, that the things we fear usually don't happen. We need to be smart about it, but ultimately we get what we want out of life, or actually we get what we need out of life. And in being with others, we show our love by showing up for them. Showing up isn't just simply about being a physical body in the room, but we do things to serve others. We care enough to help others. They matter to us, and we show it by showing up for them. There are times in our lives and our careers where we feel frightened. We don't necessarily use those words, but we feel stress, frightened. We're in situations where we feel attacked, with the result being we feel like we need to defend ourselves. Have you ever considered just loving the other person and listening to them and saying, I hear you, and asking questions to understand their side of it? Have you ever been in a situation where you could observe other people bickering with one another and could interrupt them and say, okay, what's this really all about? I sat with a group of business people not long ago who were clearly, several of them were clearly frightened. And as I was working with them, one of them paused for a second and said, what are we really trying to do here? We know we respect one another. We know we care one another. Can we talk to one another from that place instead of the ones where we're frightened? A smile came over my face as I listened, and I just have to tell you, folks, if you're in situations like that, try that as an option. You will really show yourself as a leader in your life and beyond. On his podcast, Masters of Scale, Reid Hoffman dropped this little tidbit in. Even when you're pursuing a contrarian plan, you don't always need to carve your own route through impassable mountain ranges. Instead, you can follow the course of a river. After all, it has already carved the path of least resistance. The real skill lies in spotting where the strongest current lies and then position yourself so it propels you towards your goal. Folks, in terms of that interesting crossroad, are you always trying to carve your path through a mountain range, or do you try and follow a river and let it propel you to where you need to go? Someone I know recently described themselves on Facebook as being quote-unquote time fluid. Translated, they're always late. And for someone who's in a service-oriented business, I find it remarkable for them to declare themselves that way, as though it's a good thing, as though it's something to mock the customer with. And I know that wasn't their intention, but that's the impact of it. Folks, when you're not up to your best, when you decide that good enough is, what you're doing is being at an interesting crossroads and making a choice that you really don't care about someone, that you're more important than them, and that they don't matter. I know you'll deny that, but that's what your behavior says to them. Folks, if that's what you want, so be it. But you got to look yourself in the mirror and realize that you're not going to get all the things you want out of life by being disrespectful of others. Interesting crossroads shows up in lots of different ways and places, and you have choices to make about how you want to be seen in the world. I've always found that good enough isn't, that I need to bring my best in order to help people and be at 100%. Am I that way all the time? Absolutely not. And I aspire to that, and I'm really, really good. I'll just simply say, remember, time fluid sends a message to people. Your behavior, not your words, send the message. And folks, your customers, your loved ones, well, they pick up on that message. And after a while, they start tuning you out. They stop listening. You know, in this notion of interesting crossroads, one of the things to always remember is love them while they're here. And that's really what I'm going to speak to you about now, is loving people while they're still here. You're not always going to be here. They're not always going to be here either. And during these moments that shape so much of our relationships, why would you ever want to be cruel to someone that you care about? Why would you ever want to be disrespectful to someone who matters to you? It makes no sense. So that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to the show. Just subscribe so you get downloads whenever I release a new episode. Each show is going to be bite-sized morsels of advice just like today's. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope you subscribe. And if you do choose to subscribe, I hope you decide to support the show. There's a link that will take you to anchor.fm where you can make a pledge in support of the show. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're interested in my coaching you, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com /IN/the Big Game Hunter. Mention that you listen to the show. I just happen to like knowing I'm helping some folks. And once we're connected, message me about your interest in coaching. We'll set up a free call. We'll get acquainted, see if it makes sense. I'll be back soon with more. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Take care. Time for